I went on a family trip for 2 weeks, only to return and discover my girlfriend cheated on me while I was away. My girlfriend, 19F, and I, 19M, have been together for 3 years and 9 months, with the quotation marks around together, because we have recently experienced numerous ups and downs. I am unsure if we are even together anymore. Everything feels so chaotic. To provide some background, we met in school and immediately connected. I tend to be quiet and reserved, as does she, until you truly get to know her. I believe my introverted nature brought out her more outgoing side because, during our initial encounter, she talked non-stop. It was truly lovely. She was genuinely a wonderful person, and after conversing with her for a time, I envisioned a future together. She expressed similar sentiments, and we were blissfully together. Before I explain why she cheated on me, I should mention that I have 3 peculiar flaws. 1. I rarely text. I simply do not spend much time on my phone and prefer communicating face-to-face. I have discussed this with her many times, and she is okay with it. 2. I am a germaphobe, particularly regarding anything oral, to the extent that I cannot use utensils I haven't purchased myself. Even the thought of sharing a drink with someone makes me feel queasy. I informed her about this relatively early in our relationship, and she said she was fine with it. She even remarked that it was good because that means I'm hygienic. But I don't think she fully grasped the severity of the situation, since she frequently drank from my cup and was puzzled when I handed it over afterwards. 3. I leave the city frequently to visit my family. I wouldn't categorize this as a flaw, but if I did not do this as often every break, she might not have cheated on me. I relocated from my small town to a larger city 4 years ago for volleyball, the best decision ever. I was living with a host family while attending school and then moved into my own place when I started university. Because of my germophobia, I didn't kiss her even after 3 years, which I recognize is not ideal, but we did engage in other activities. We did nearly everything except for kissing or anything involving our mouths. Our first kiss held significant meaning for us, and we were both saving it for the moment when I could overcome my fears. You could say we were happily together. I could definitely see myself marrying her, and she affirmed this as well. We cared for each other deeply, spending every day together without feeling drained. We didn't frequently call or text, only to arrange meet-ups, but we were content with that. We both agreed that constant texting is not beneficial for us. We encountered disagreements now and then, but that is typical in any long-term relationship, and we managed to work through them. I genuinely believed nothing could separate us, and that we would lead a conventional married life within a few years. Before I delve into the negative aspects, I must acknowledge that I am not blameless. In fact, I may have wronged her even more. I am not claiming to be a saint, as I have made numerous errors. It's all very complicated, but we still want to make our relationship work. Recalling my frequent visits to my hometown, about 7 months ago, I went back for 2 weeks during a break and informed her, "Hey, I probably won't be able to text you. I'll be spending time with my family." She responded that it was fine and encouraged me to enjoy my time with my family. I left, did not communicate for 2 weeks, returned, and everything felt normal again. Then, about a week after my return, my friends convinced me that I needed to kiss her soon. It had been 3 years at that point, or else she would dislike me. I understand that was not accurate, and she wouldn't actually hate me for it, but I genuinely wanted to make her happier by kissing her, especially after our 2-week silence. So I finally gathered the courage to kiss her, and we ended up making out for about 2 hours, which was a great experience. However, after the kiss, I suddenly felt strange and had to do an oral detox after she left, of course. The realization that her saliva was in my mouth disturbed me. We were both excited about finally kissing. She said she felt complete and suggested I should have kissed her sooner. I was pleased that we shared our first kiss. Here is where things take a turn for the worse. The following day, she confessed that she had cheated on me while I was away visiting my family for 2 weeks. She kissed a guy I strongly disliked on 4 separate occasions, and he left hickeys on her neck that she attempted to hide. She claimed it was a significant mistake and that it isn't truly who she is. I recognize that this behavior is unacceptable, and I know I should end the relationship, but I find it difficult to follow through. Right now, I am incredibly angry with her. Whenever I talk to her, I end up lashing out verbally, which makes her upset. What fueled my anger even more was when she said, "It could have been worse." While she is correct, it only made me angrier. She continuously begs for forgiveness, but I cannot bring myself to do so. I care about myself enough to realize I should end things, but I also love her. So much so that I am struggling to walk away, even after seeing the proof on her neck. I told her I couldn't see myself forgiving her, and we discussed breaking up, but neither of us could bring ourselves to take that step. She still professes her love for me, which I believe to be true. I know she won't repeat her mistake. She candidly shared everything that transpired and acknowledged it was a grievous error. I didn't want to end things, but I couldn't bear the thought of losing her. I was also exceedingly angry with her and said, "I'm going to get even, then hopefully I'll forgive you." I realize how foolish that was, but I genuinely couldn't think of another option. She mentioned that she was fine with that, as long as I don't leave her. Then, about a month later, out of pure anger, I kissed another girl. I acknowledge it was wrong, but I did it. I didn't even care about my germ issue. I just wanted to retaliate and find a way to forgive her. I told her, "Hey, I've evened the score," and while she was understandably upset, she eventually forgave me. I know this is very disordered, but since I couldn't forgive her after kissing one girl, I started seeing another. With that girl, I engaged in actions I now regret, but I still have strong feelings for my girlfriend. I still cannot muster the ability to forgive her. I then began conversing with multiple girls, attempting to distract myself and heal from her betrayal, but I was unable to forget. Now, approximately 6 months after she cheated, I have been involved with about 4 different girls. I am now done with that. I no longer have the desire for such encounters. I only wish to forgive my girlfriend. I am unsure if she is still my girlfriend. She insists she will wait for my forgiveness, and while she is unhappy with what I did, she is still willing to forgive me. I am uncertain if that is positive or negative, given that she can forgive me so quickly after my infidelity. It feels all very tangled. We have resumed talking, but it doesn't feel the same. I still find myself getting angry with her, which only ruins the mood. Nevertheless, I want to forgive her because I still care for her. In summary, I went on vacation for 2 weeks, and my girlfriend of 3 years cheated on me during that time. Upon discovering this, I decided to cheat on her in retaliation 4 times over 6 months. She forgave me, but I am still unable to forgive her, even though I continue to love her. We still have feelings for one another, and I hope this is just a hurdle we can overcome in our youth. I'm not worried about her cheating again. I am merely upset that she did. She was very forthcoming about her actions, and I genuinely believe she will not repeat them, as I have known her for a long time. Is it possible for our relationship to be mended? Story 2. OMG. After years of emotional neglect and mental breakdown, I snapped and lashed out when my dad mocked me in front of family. I am an 18-year-old woman residing with my parents. Throughout the years, I have experienced numerous mental breakdowns. In my childhood, I implored my parents for assistance, urging them to seek change. I expressed a desire to consult a psychiatrist, but they labeled me as crazy, insisting that depression was not a genuine condition and that I merely wanted to avoid my schoolwork. Nevertheless, their actions have played a significant role in my mental health struggles. My mother, a homemaker, hardly seems to acknowledge my presence. She recollects insignificant facts, such as the year we purchased our new sofa, yet she cannot remember details from my childhood. I have a scar on my leg from a burn, and whenever my family notices it, they inquire about the mark. No matter how often I explain the story behind my scar, they continue to forget. I vividly recall sitting on my bed, weeping, gasping for breath, and experiencing a panic attack, while my mother stood nearby laughing. She once told me I should have been punished more as a child, implying that it would have made me stronger. As a young girl, I disliked having my photograph taken, but my mother insisted on capturing images of me. Now that I am older and enjoy photographing myself, both of my parents criticize me, saying I am bothersome and not a model deserving of pictures. On my 17th birthday, I dressed up and took pictures of myself. My mother scolded me and ordered me to my room to focus on studying. When I cried in my room, she barged in and told me to stop being dramatic and concentrate on my studies. When I was 15, my mother attended my tutoring session for the first time and met other mothers who discussed their children's accomplishments. She had nothing to say about me or my classes. Whenever I attempted to share my daily experiences with her, her response was, "Will that improve your grades? If it does, I am willing to listen." As I have matured, my mental well-being has significantly deteriorated. I suffer from severe breakdowns often, yet my parents remain apathetic. One day, my mother fell ill and was vomiting in the bathroom. She allegedly called for my help to get up, but I did not hear her. I hurried to get my father and fetched her medication. Earlier that day, I had an exam while battling a fever. I informed my parents, but they showed no concern or even remembered that I was unwell. Whenever I have been sick in the past, my mother never bothered to inquire about my condition the following morning or provided me with an appropriate diet. The next day, I did not think to ask about her health, and she reprimanded me for not doing so. When I reminded her that I had a fever and she had not shown any concern, her reply was, "What fever?" I rushed to my room, weeping, and spent the morning sobbing. Eventually, my coughing drew my mother's attention. She called my father, complaining about my tears, and he told me I should have cried when he was home. I felt utterly crushed. They eventually agreed to take me to a psychiatrist, but even then, they expected me to initiate the appointment. It is disheartening, as I have always managed everything on my own, from traveling to communicating with my teachers, with no support from my parents. My mother did not accompany me to the counselor, and frankly, the session was not particularly beneficial. The counselor expressed a wish to meet my mother, but she did not attend. Following our counseling session, a festival requiring fasting took place. After the fast concluded, my mother was upset that she had to prepare food for me because our maid arrived late. I had informed my mother earlier of my intention to wear a sari that day. While assisting me in putting it on, I jokingly commented that I looked like a politician. However, my mother responded by shaming me. I was profoundly hurt and decided to cancel my plans, choosing to remain home instead. I was crying in my room when our maid entered. My mother followed shortly after and slapped me for crying in front of the maid. She even told me that I should have died at birth, claiming it would have been more beneficial. That was the final straw. I moved out to live with my best friend. During that period, my mother repeatedly threatened to take her own life, claiming she loved me dearly and could not live without me. I stayed with my friend for a week before returning home. To my surprise, my mother's behavior changed significantly, and she began treating me with kindness. She even took me to see the counselor again. During the session, she revealed that she had shamed me because I reminded her of my grandmother, whom she despised. I had hoped things would improve, but unfortunately, nothing changed. Soon, my parents reverted to their previous behavior, and my condition worsened. Although I have not mentioned my father until now, he has been mostly absent throughout my life. He consistently blamed my mother for everything, demonstrating a lack of backbone and refusing to stand up for either his wife or children. He frequently complained about my mother, asserting that she was the reason we did not live with my grandparents and uncle. However, he failed to recognize that my grandmother and uncle are not virtuous individuals. They harbor disdain for our family due to our lower socioeconomic status. My father's actions were often ignorant and self-serving. For instance, he attended my parent-teacher meeting without even brushing his teeth. He has always believed he is correct and that he possesses superior knowledge. During my final year of school, I had a project that required using plywood. My father would not purchase a full sheet for me, so I compromised by joining two pieces together. When it was time to attach hooks, I suggested we take it to a professional, but my father insisted on handling it himself. As expected, the joints became loose. This incident unleashed years of pent-up frustration, leading me to physically lash out at him. I had never done anything to tarnish his reputation or work, yet he consistently took credit for my achievements. This was the first and last time I asked him for assistance. My anger overwhelmed me, and I lost control. Another painful incident occurred when my father took me to my uncle's home and mocked me in front of them. Whenever my uncle visited us, he would refuse to eat at our home, perceiving us as beneath him. Meanwhile, my father would indulge in food as if he had never eaten before, despite not even being invited. It was humiliating, and it wounded my ego. When I returned home, I lost control again. My mother often mocks me about these occurrences, leaving me uncertain about my feelings. I have been deeply depressed, seeking help from relatives, tutors, and others, yet no one has provided assistance. I feel embarrassed sharing these details with my counselor. While I recognize that my actions were wrong, I completely lost control. There have been moments when I have lost control and harmed myself in similar or worse ways, but my parents remained indifferent. A bit of background about my mother: she was married at a very young age to a man who was likely double her age. She was mistreated by everyone and forced to perform all the household chores, resulting in resentment towards them. She has often confided in me that she would have divorced my father if I had not been born. I suspect she may have even been unfaithful to him once, although I cannot be sure. Ironically, she once caught me watching pornography at a young age and still blackmails me over it. Meanwhile, I have never confronted her about her infidelity, nor have I shared my suspicions with her. Given their tumultuous relationship, I would not be surprised if my father had also been unfaithful. Throughout my upbringing, all I witnessed was their constant fighting. Am I truly at fault? Story 3. My F22 boyfriend, M21, doesn't have any goals and can't figure out what he wants. When is it time to let go? I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 4 years now. I am 8 months older than he is, and we met just before we graduated from high school. I have consistently been high-functioning and knew from an early age that I wanted to pursue education and create a successful life for myself. My aspirations include traveling, buying a home, and I have no desire to have children. Both of us come from families burdened with significant debt. However, I absorbed that reality and resolved never to find myself in that same situation, while he seems to harbor a resentment toward money and fears that it could lead to our breakup. When we first started dating, we were still young, so I didn't think much of the fact that he didn't know what direction he wanted to take in life. Frankly, I was uncertain as well and assumed clarity would come in time. We fell in love quickly and passionately, and my relationship with him has fostered so much healthy personal growth, both as a partner and as an individual. We do not engage in shouting matches. Instead, we love and support each other's hobbies. I can be my authentic self around him, and he respects my thoughts and opinions as a woman. He is, overall, an exceptional person. I will graduate with my Bachelor of Applied Science in Cybersecurity this June, and I am supplementing my education by studying additional topics outside of my coursework. I am also preparing for a certification exam that will validate my qualifications to potential employers in the security field. I work full-time while attending school full-time. A significant life transition is approaching as graduation nears. I am close to paying off my student loans, actively saving for a house, and I generally feel confident about my future. I am even fortunate enough to plan trips with my girlfriends, including a trip to Las Vegas in June, immediately after graduation. My boyfriend lives with me at my grandparents' house. We do not pay rent, as the understanding was that I would not have to pay as long as I continued my education. This arrangement has significantly eased my financial burden, allowing me to save money. The expectation was that he would also save and start building his own financial security. He found a good job and enjoyed spending money on entertainment and pursuing hobbies. I am unsure how much he was saving, but he consistently paid his bills, including the internet bill we share. In October 2024, after nearly 2 years at his job, he decided that he was unhappy with how his boss treated him and accepted a new position doing overnight warehouse work. I did not think it was the best move, but I trusted and supported his choice. I believe nobody genuinely likes their boss, but I also cannot condone poor treatment. He started his new role, but he quickly began to dislike it. Since he works nights, he hardly sees me, and the physical toll from the labor is significant. He eventually quit without securing another job first. He only recently found part-time work at the beginning of January. After receiving his first paycheck, he realized that a part-time job would not provide the same financial stability as a full-time position. As a result, he is searching for another job. During the time he was unemployed and looking for a full-time position, he completely depleted his savings. I have been buying groceries and covering the entire internet bill. His car insurance and registration have lapsed after receiving the title from his father, and he is 2 years behind on renewing his tags. If he gets pulled over, he could face serious consequences. We have conversations about his situation, and I can see how hard he is trying. He applies to jobs daily. He remains uncertain about what he wants to do long term. He enjoys making music, thrifting, and flipping clothes, but he knows that these passions won't pay the bills. His hope is to keep working and changing jobs until he discovers something worthwhile that he can pursue as a career. I have made an effort to be supportive and have expressed my fears about potentially leaving him behind. I worry about what will happen if I buy a house and he cannot contribute to the down payment or the ongoing expenses. We are unable to go out together, and I have lent him money for items like his phone bill, alcohol, and vape pods. He currently owes me $300 and is a month overdue on his $120 phone bill. I am simply exhausted. I care for him deeply, but I feel as though the last 4 years have involved me taking care of him while waiting for him to learn how to navigate adulthood independently. It is also worth noting that I handle most, if not all, of the domestic responsibilities in our home, despite him working fewer hours than I do. At first, I did not mind helping him, and he genuinely appreciates and acknowledges everything I have done for him. However, this has led to a growing resentment over the past few months, if not years. I want to be his unwavering support, but at what point does my support become detrimental to myself? I can barely take care of my own mental health, let alone tend to someone else's needs. I do not want him out of my life, but I cannot escape the thought that my life might be easier without him, which saddens me greatly. I have tried to negotiate a compromise. However, he keeps assuring me that it will just take a little longer and then everything will be fine. But I have been hearing this same sentiment from him for the past 2 years. Additionally, it has been 2 years since we were intimate. He has a medical condition that requires attention, but unfortunately, he does not have health insurance. I cannot assist him with this matter and do not want to press the issue, but it definitely affects our relationship and level of intimacy. Furthermore, the prospect of kicking him out when he has nothing would leave me feeling incredibly guilty. I could write much more, but I will pause here. I love him dearly, and I do not wish to be with anyone else. He shows me affection regardless of my body size or mental health status. He is kind, loving, and makes me laugh daily. Yet, I am truly worn out from managing our home and, by extension, caring for him. When does enough become enough? Should I simply hope it gets better by the time I graduate? Am I enabling his behavior by providing him with a safety net? I do not wish to leave, but I also do not want to carry a disproportionate share of the responsibilities for my entire life. I have never expected him to earn more than I do. However, I do expect his assistance, and I am uncertain whether I will receive that support. How will I know when it is time to let go and move forward? Will I ever find someone who accepts me unconditionally, as he does? Someone who works as hard as I do, so we can support one another.